Life is hectic, demanding, and doesn't stop. When honest with ourselves, we must confess we often don't know what the hell we're doing. The Larkcast is an ongoing conversation about the inclusive and mischievous nature of God's presence through the lens of all the things that make up this phenomenon we refer to as life. Astonishing grace and refreshing honesty collide right here for your weekly encouragement.
Welcome back to the Larkcast, Christmas edition. You guys are in for a treat today. We got the Lark trio live. I am here with Russ. You guys know Russ by his gravelly southern voice. You were welcomed in the intro of the Larkcast by him, as you are every week. Russ, how you doing, man?
Good, dude. Got down to 60 this morning, so we're a little chilly out here, man. Pulled out some coats, some hats, and yeah, poured some eggnog in my coffee, man. Tried to get in the spirit of the season.
Nice.
First time it's gotten chilly, so
yeah. It's like 20 degrees here, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see I have a 4K fire going on the TV behind me, which keeps me nice and cozy in my very drafty old office in my building that was built in 1880. But I digress. Because for the first time, we got all three of us on the Larkcast. Jamie, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? It's 20 degrees here, and it's supposed to be -4 by Friday.
So nice.
The whole family's recovering from, and I say recovering lightly, we're recovering from the great flu of 2022. We've been down for 7.5 days at this point, but and we have a real fireplace downstairs, which has been the kind of bright spot,
yeah, man.
But it's fun to be here,
dude. Good to have you. And this is a special Christmas treat that the Lark Cats are pulling out for all you Larks out there. This one goes out to all you Larks out there. Merry Christmas. We have a little we have a little zizzle zazzle for you today. Got a little something special.
Merry Chrysler.
little something we're doing for y'all today. So we put our heads together, our wonderful, beautiful, bright, and brilliant heads together. And we said, hey, we're gonna do a Christmas episode. What do you guys want to do? And it was suggested that we dig up old Christmas sermons from the past and just roast each other and roast ourselves. Roast our past selves, our past pastor selves. And so that's what this episode is. All of us have some sort of message from the past, and we're just gonna roast ourselves. So that's what we're doing. Self-deprecation. This is the self-deprecation Christmas celebration.
I like that. It's a little bit long on the title, but
that's a good title, and I made it
There's
up.
a lot of syllables in there.
Self-deprecation. See, dude, you can't
Christmas
take the
celebration.
Passer. You can't take the passer out of a dude. That was alliterated phonetically from front to back. Self-deprecation Christmas celebration. Boom.
Even got that single syllable followed by a word, followed by that double syllable, followed by a word.
Hell yeah, dude.
Got that.
You rhymed every syllable.
Got that sound in there.
Bro.
Self. You notice that self goes with Christmas.
Hey, that's how you get raises, man. That's how you get raises in the church world.
It is true. And hopefully, as we journey through this very embarrassing moment, wondering, I'm just going to be honest, dude. As you hear about these stories, just to be clear to the audience, I think you're going to hear good news. So you will be encouraged today as you journey with us. But in this self-deprecation Christmas celebration, you're also going to be just reminded that Jesus wasn't kidding when he announced that he single-handedly just reconciled it all. It is finished. Because there's going to be a lot of people out there like Russ, Tony, and Jameson. They're going to go through trainings and they're going to get up on stages and they're going to present Christmas and Easter and the other 50 weeks a year sermons that just make you look at yourself in the mirror eventually with the scripture in hand and scratch your head and wonder, how in the hell, man, has good news still been traveling the world for 2,000 years? How? And then you just have to be convinced, like, man, he really is on the throne. It's true. It's true. He will build his church in and through yahoos like us. And if you're not convinced of this, you will be here in just a few moments.
Yep.
Nice. So I don't know. I don't know what order we want to go in. But I think it might be good. Maybe the longest sermon, the sheer amount of words. Whoever has the longest sermon will go. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now, we haven't compared notes, but I can promise you that neither of the sermons sitting in front of you are 10 pages long or more than 6,500 words. So that's me. I'm going to go first because I win. So you're asking the question, how does the gospel spread? How does God grow his church? Well, clearly it's through 10-page, 6,500 word manuscript sermons. That's exactly how good news travels right there. And I will tell you, for a good
Grandma Betty finally got her nephew to come. Finally got her nephew to get out of the bed and come to church. Tony walks up there with 10 typed pages, bro.
Dude, I could make this thing rain. Like, if it was money, I could make it rain.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah, but that was like the world I was in. I was a rising pastoral star at a very big church in Northwest Indiana, a gospel coalition, Reformed Baptist church. We prided ourselves on big theological words. In fact, in the introduction of this, I had a little thing saying like, hey, this is our mission here at this church, is to equip you to see every bit of life through a biblical lens, even the Christmas season. I got into that in the intro. And yes, you're right, Russ. This is very embarrassing. and
start railing on people for buying presents while you justify buying presents.
No, like, I can tell, like, back then I was still pretty like into self-deprecating humor. So I was like making fun of myself for like being super late on everything and not being prepared for the Christmas season. You gotta throw a little humor in there. You can't just hit them with a bunch of, you can't hit them with all of it. You gotta have a few funnies in there. But I use the phrase hypostatic union in the introduction.
Are you being serious?
Like 5 lines down, I have the phrase hypostatic union, which for
Dude,
all
I've
of you
probably got a tally list of times that I've done that. So I'm with you there.
In fact, I think if I had to guess, Jamie and I probably are a little bit more like nerdy, like into the like theology. Russ, you probably were more like planter, like friendly, funny, trying to grow this thing, maybe a little bit more slick, like your illustrations are really, really tight.
Memorable.
Like it was the, like, you're probably like, you're theologically tight. But you probably weren't trying to like impress anybody with big phrases. I could be wrong.
No. But definitely guilty on the other end for sure. Had to bring in them solid little tear jerking stories, man. Make sure they were placed in the proper order, right?
Yeah.
So Tony, you and I just don't have a syllable limit. Is that there's no syllable limits, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, but the premise of this, we were probably going through It looked like we were going through like a gospel.
I just gotta say this. You can edit this out if you need to.
No, we're not editing any of this out. None of this is getting edited.
I'm just like finding myself laughing because I could see you. Like, man, you got like 2 or 3 like key elders in mind, bro, that you're thinking about, man, when you're prepping that sermon. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta bring this game, man, to the table. You got these dudes to impress.
This was 2013, so I think at that point, I was probably past that, but that definitely would have been true for me early on because I was the very first pastor they ever hired without a seminary degree. And like my entire time was like, I was trying to like prove that I belonged.
So who were you impressing with the syllables?
At that point, it was probably just like who could be like the slickest, like,
okay.
I was trying to be
I totally get it.
like any work environment, like it would probably be more competitive. So it was like you were trying to be like everybody's favorite pastor, like you're cracking funnies and you're like theological
and you're smart.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Okay.
So my thing wasn't so much like smart, like I can hang enough. Like I wanted to be funny and like culturally relevant.
I'm sorry,
so
man.
Embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. It's just true. It's real.
It's so true, dude. Yes,
but I can't help but in my head, I feel like Jameson would have just been trying to impress Jameson with syllables. I can almost see him like in the mirror afterwards, talking to himself, arguing about which one brought it better this week. Oh, I got you, Jamie. You just wait until this next sermon rolls out.
Oh my gosh, man.
Side note, as charged.
Okay.
That's a nail on the head right there.
I love it. Well, let me get through this real quick, and then I'm kind of eager to move on to your guys. I'm just gonna make fun of. So my basic premise was that the word Jesus, he assumed the human nature of a man, both body and soul, so that he could save both body and soul. So just because he's the God man, right? He's fully human, fully God, hence the hypostatic union. That makes him eligible to save us. Okay. So that's kind of where I was going. I have, no joke, 6 quotes.
6.
Like I referenced six quotes from like theologians. 2 of them were Wayne Grudem. One of them was Mark Driscoll. One of them was Mark Driscoll, back when you could quote Mark Driscoll. This is before everything, this is before rise and fall, people. All right.
Yeah. Cancel culture wasn't what it is.
Yes. Back when quoting Driscoll earned you points rather than, got you canceled.
Bro, you got Grudem in there twice in one sermon?
Yeah, I got Grudem in there twice. Yep.
Whoa.
I had nice order to everything. Everything's kind of like, my main points are kind of like, bolded out. Like all my like quotes were color coded. My passages were like a different color.
Yeah.
I got a Phil Riken quote in here. So as you can see, I'm pretty diverse at this point. I'm quoting Riken and Driscoll. Quoting Riken and Driscoll.
Mary Chrysler.
My favorite part. Okay, so here's my main illustration. My main illustration was a Zales commercial, which is, I don't know if you guys have Zales across the country. I think they're pretty national, like jewelry store. And the commercial was this kid who's like looking through the glass case, and he like picks out this like killer like necklace or whatever. You could tell this thing's like super expensive, and his eyes are all big, and he's working with like the salesperson, and he points at it, and she pulls it out. And you're like, well, how the heck is this kid going to pay for this? You see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Right. A kid with no money, no resources, nothing to his name. How in the world is he going to walk out with the precious diamonds, the gift for a mother on Christmas? And then the commercial flashes to the dad, and he's got a credit card in hand. Now we see the sufficiency. Where is the payment going to come from? Where, people, friends, I am here to tell you today, where is the payment going to come from? Not us. We are not sufficient. We don't have enough in the bank account to pull this off. We need to look outside of ourselves to the divine credit line, the credit card, the Jesus plastic. We need the Jesus plastic to pay for this. That was like my big kind of like illustrative moment. But my favorite part of this sermon is I had gotten into a conversation on Twitter with somebody, because back then I was just like quoting, I was just like being a pastor on Twitter, and like every tweet had to have some sort of divine purpose, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. God won't bless that feed if it ain't.
Yeah, you got an image to maintain. But I'm like, hey, really, really quick. And this was like a dude who was like not a Christian. I'm like getting into this conversation. So of course I had to highlight that, because like I'm just a man among the people, man. I'm just connecting with like everyday people. I'm just out here like sharing good news.
I'm just out here huddled up in a corner at a coffee shop by myself with my headphones in, tweeting out people who don't believe.
And so I highlighted this exchange, and I literally called it a conversation in this sermon. I called it a conversation, and I typed it out. The dude's name, what he said, and then me. I called it a conversation, and literally what I have printed here is one thing from him and 5 things from me.
So now you're teaching people the art of good conversation too.
Yeah, dude.
There it is.
I'm showing people how to have conversations.
Listen, when your neighbor utters one little thing that's not correct, you just pounce on his ass, bro.
That's it. I'm done. That's enough. I'm hitting the point of like, this is funny, and if I went any farther, I might be drinking myself to bed tonight. So yeah, that was it. That was mine.
Seriously, man. Well done.
The title was God with Us to Save Us. And the tagline to the sermon is longer than the title.
Yeah.
Why the incarnation of God was necessary for our redemption. Boom. Boom.
The only thing, man, that you could have maybe done to top that, I'm just wondering, like the green room conversation after the sermon. And people gathered around and just thinking like, bro, if you would have planned ahead, man. Okay. I know you admitted that you didn't. All right. That's all in your intro. But just thinking back, Tony, if you could have planned ahead, our band could have done a whole new rendition of Christmas Shoes, but it could have been Christmas Diamonds. Who's
That would be a total senior pastor move. See, I didn't have that kind of weight. I was just an associate. But if I was the lead dude, then I could have like sent the email to the worship leader on Friday at 3 p.m. when that idea came to me, and then made his ass work all weekend on converting that song.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Kind of got some lyrics in there about the plastic Jesus card, that credit line, bro. Man, I needed this. I was good laughing. Thank you. All right, Jamie, you're up.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Now, really quick, for those who are listening in.
Oh, God.
Jameson is not always as willfully self-deprecating as Tony is. So don't start looking down on us if we lean into him while he's sharing. We're not being mean. We're not being
Shut up, Russ. Dude, my sermons were good, okay? I had to look so long and hard to find a sermon that I could sit here and make fun of.
Damn you fools for inviting me on this episode. Tricking me.
I came on here to show you guys how to write a good sermon.
Jamie's like, I thought this was the podcast where we brought our best sermons.
Over
I
here
was just gonna
running through
read.
my stack of Christmas sermon.
I
trying
was
to
just
find the
gonna
best
read
one.
my 15 pages on my sermon. I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
Now, that one, on a serious note, is it 15 pages?
No,
Come
some
on,
of
bro.
them have probably
No,
been
those are
pretty-
those
I've
are just his
preached-
Larkcast notes are 15 pages.
I've hit 57 minutes before.
Bro,
For sure.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Well, this is okay. So there's the context for you. Like that's what made my sermons so easy to make fun of. I'm unable to not show you how every single dot that's connected is connected. Like there's something in my brain that just has to nerd out on all of the connections, whether I made them and they're not there, or they're there and it's fun to talk about.
Well, you do good at it, man.
I'm
in a good way. Serious.
discernment to figure out, like, okay, there's 150 people sitting in this room right now. How many of them A are going to know how to follow what I'm saying, B will care, or C, what's going to happen after they hear what I have to say about all this stuff? What's that even going to do? I struggled with that for a long time. I still do if I sit down to write a sermon for somebody. So I am a Advent junkie. Okay. So I've been digging around in history, traditions, and liturgical stuff for at least a decade, I guess, probably a little over. And at the church I was at, we were working really hard to like not just throw out all because it's old. And so I'd go exploring and all this stuff. So we had built out an Advent series that we started using every year. And we would talk about the incarnation as the first Advent, right? And then we'd talk about the consummation, which is the Advent yet to come, the arrival yet to come. And then we would talk about the third week, Christ's presence with us now, the current present Advent. But if that's your intro every single week, explaining all of those words and all of those concepts and all of what that means, and you're already like behind the eight ball because you're a nerd and you just want to talk about it and it's cool to you. Like, to me, this stuff was interesting. I could read and write about it all day. It was really hard to turn that into sermons that were like made people actually understand the gospel, the good news.
Yep.
So
Grandma's
Tony, I
Betty's
might have
nephew
you
was
beat. I
scratching his
said
head.
in a lot of people didn't fall asleep on me, but they were scratching their heads. The word that I used in my Advent sermon, so I was talking about the future one in my sermon, inaugurated eschatology. That was in my introduction.
Yes.
I almost spit out my coffee, man.
And I proceeded to do a full workup of what the church calendar is and how it works in this sermon.
What was the phrase again?
Inaugurated eschatology.
I just can't believe that one of your sermon points is also Pam and I's code word for sex. That's just what are the chances of that? What are the chances of that?
What are the odds?
I'm having a surreal moment right now.
Maybe I'm stressed. I'm stressed. Inaugurated eschatology. all of a sudden, the kids are like, "Where's mom and dad?"
He's writing a sermon about the consummation of all things. Yeah.
Damn.
This is amazing. Why have we not done this before? All right, go ahead, Jamie. Keep
This
going.
is
bud.
the Lark of Grace for those who are listening in. This is the joy and the beauty of levity at its finest. Go ahead.
I've never heard back from anyone about this sermon, so I don't know if I got if anybody was helped. There were definitely no tweets. Everything I say is longer than 140 characters, and so there's not much you can do with this. I'm looking at this quote right now, and I'm like, it probably sounded cool. It still kind of sounds cool. I don't know what I expected anybody to do with it. I said, this brings us to our main topic today, which is the promise about the future. If the future shapes the present, what can we know about the future? You guys are thinking on that one. I got you good there.
Did you put a little note on that? Read twice.
That was it. Like, no, I bolded it so I would really emphasize it. And
yeah, man. Like pre-sermon when the band's going through their thing, or were you probably also on lead and worship that day too? Were you doing double duty?
No, I don't think I did this time.
Okay.
Yeah, so nobody probably tweeted that out, but they were probably texting it to each other in the pews. Like, what does this mean, dude?
What in the heck is going on? Yep. My introductions are just painfully long. Like, after reading Capen's book on preaching, I'm so ashamed of my introductions. Like, he's like, dude, just skip the introduction. Just skip it all together, okay? And go straight into preaching. Because he's like, you're not saying anything anyways. And I'm looking at all this, I'm like, this is worse than the introduction of a book. Because it's so thorough. I went through what everybody's previous sermon in the series talked about. I was like, hey, here's their main point. Here's what he said. Just set it all up, and then all the context. And then you get to the preaching part,
connecting all the dots.
You
had to hit an hour on this bad boy.
This one hit an hour, but it was probably close. I was known for that. For sure. There's a lot of scripture references and quotes, and quote Robert Jensen in here, and he's a systematic theologian that would probably make Grudem skin crawl.
I used to buy weed from a Bobby Jensen. Might be his kid or something.
It probably is. It's like a given. Okay. Everybody in school's like, don't become a theologian. Your kids all become dealers.
So here's a quote.
So where's it get bad, dude? Where's it get bad?
I'd like to take this quote back. Here's a quote I'd like to be able to take back.
Okay.
The promised future with God is not for those who believe or understand that it is coming. It is for those who live as if it's already here.
Oh. Dang. Yep. I'm with you on that one, dude.
I can sit here and like parse it out and be like, well, what I really meant. But that just doesn't matter. And that really sets that quote solidifies the gap in people's minds between them and God. That's kind of the bottom line. That's why I would take it back. On and on and on and on. I want to tell you that Jensen quote. It was so good, but I don't think I got it or anybody else got it. This is the thesis to one of his smaller systematic theology books. He says, there has lived a man wholly for others all the way to death, and he has risen so that his self-giving will finally triumph. And Jensen unpacks the gospel in that book, and it's really incredible. He does an incredible job of taking to task all of the things. Honestly, a lot of things Lark takes to task that we do, in and through everything we say and write. And Jensen's like, it's Jesus, and specifically
Jesus
in the incarnation. So I love that.
That is a good quote. I dig that one, and I feel bad for you, man, and everybody sitting there on that other one.
Yeah,
if you grab a hold of this, then it's true.
My favorite Bobby Jensen quote is, are you going to buy this dime bag or what?
Okay.
Oh man, but I'm
I'll
with
give you
on
last
that.
one,
I had
okay?
15 years of sermons that were always, if you do blank, right, then this, then this is good news, then this counts, and it's like, oh man. So if we're being honest here, I probably have 15 years of sermons I'd love to take back.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All the good and beautiful points made, all undone by the time you got to the end with the if but clauses.
The one thing I got going for me, Russ, is that I can say that you were one of the guys that helped me start preaching. So this sermon came in, I don't know, this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I've always had Russ in my head trying to help me say fewer words.
I remember those meetings.
That helped to a point in theory. So here's the last thing I said. And I'll leave it here, I guess. This is in my notes. I never found I usually preach with a manuscript of some sort. So I don't know exactly. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just went with these notes, but I may or may not have said this. It's in my notes and it's bolded. So
You probably said it.
I probably did. It may be a quote from somebody else. This looks like it's somebody else. But if I said it, it's on me. Do you want to be redeemed? That is the one great decisive question that Advent puts to us. Which it's the same thing, man. It's just pressing the same problem for everybody of like,
yeah, I was trying not to like, do we laugh at this? Do we cry? Like which one do we do here?
Just let the emotions flow.
Do you want this? Just so we're clear, it's already done, but
that was not very clear.
Yeah, man.
It was not very clear.
Well, dude, cheers to the reconciliation, man, of all things single-handedly carried out by Jesus to redeem all of our fallacies and misquotes and missteps and misunderstandings and malpractice of the gospel. Right? It's like there's nothing else to cling to in this, man. For me, dude, the one Christmas that I would take back, I was pastoring a church that I planted in city of Asheville, okay, South Asheville. Planted in 2005. All right. It's the first church I planted. I had started some ministries like youth and then college and then a teaching ministry and then like a single young, like how that world works, right? So I did all that, man, for like, I don't know, 6 years at 2 churches and then planted this church. And there's a lot of cool things that were going on. And we, we're toying with all these different things. And in my head, I'm dealing with like the missional thing is like starting to become something. It's underground. No one's really talking about it. So I'm hanging out with these like obscure dudes that were spending their time all over the world where they're seeing this stuff and then they're coming back to the US. So I got that brewing like on the right side of my brain. And then I got this dude who's working with North Point, Andy Stanley, that's helping kind of coach me through the planting of this thing, right, in the left side of my brain. And I'm sort of in this weird tension moment of what to do. And so we decided to get a little creative. I got this associate pastor, I won't say his name. He joined our team. And he was this big kind of fun dude, but goofy at the same time. And naturally, I mean, you're gonna want to.
Just to be clear,
yeah,
kind of described me a little bit there.
It was close. Yeah, he didn't wear glasses. That's different. So here's where it all goes down. He shows up Sunday morning in Christmas pajamas with Christmas lights wrapped around his legs, his arms.
He was also getting some North Point coaching.
He's plugged into the freaking wall, dude, back behind the stage. Work. He's trying not to trip over himself. This dude out doing announcements. Trying to get this crowd hyped. I'm gonna start crying, man. Just so freaking embarrassing, dude. I'm not up there, but I'm looking at this dude. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you, bro? I mean, I knew he was gonna do something fun, but I didn't think he was gonna show up looking like a walking Christmas tree. So this dude, he does these announcements trying to get everybody hyped up. And he thought I was going one place in the sermon this week. And instead, I reversed course and decided to speak from the hip. No notes.
They call that going with the ghost.
Oh, the Holy Ghost.
You went with the ghost, baby.
So I'm just going to go ahead and admit all this. Okay, so I didn't grow up in the church world. When people talk about like their youth group stories and like, you know, Chronicles of Narnia here and that as a kid, like I never heard any of that. I didn't know who C.S. Lewis was. Now I discovered some of C.S. Lewis in Bible college after becoming a believer as an adult in seminary, but it was more like mere Christianity, things like that, right? Quotes and different passages. I wasn't really diving into anything Narnia related. Well, the Chronicles of Narnia comes out as a movie, right? And I took Krista and the kids and we went and saw it Saturday night. And I'd never seen it before. And dude, like all these cylinders are firing in my brain, right? Because you're watching this movie and you're making all these connections between like what's going on in the movie and what's in the scriptures, and your mind's just like blown, right? You're so amazed by it. So I have to change course, bro, because I'm like all jazzed up, man, about what I just saw. But it's not all clicking like with any sort of like clarity, to be clear. You know what I mean? It's like the way you bumble about a restaurant that you went to a friend, you know what I mean? Like that night. And you're just kind of bumping through the menu and this, and it's all random and you're excited and they might be like, oh, I love it. But they have no idea what you're really talking about. That was my sermon, bro. The next morning, I freaking preached a Christmas sermon basically as a movie review of Narnia on Sunday morning in the Bible Belt, where everyone in the crowd is like, yeah, we've all seen and talked about this thing for 20, 30 years. And this dude's up on stage like you never even heard of Narnia. And I just remember basically doing a 30-minute movie review of Narnia following walking Christmas tree advertisement announcements and getting done, man, with that Sunday morning and sitting down afterwards and just sitting there, dude, in the front row. And man, just like the feeling in my gut, you know, of just going, what the hell just happened? What did I just get up there and do, man?
Do you
How
remember
do you
what
come back from this?
Do you remember, did Krista have any feedback for you on that one?
She just looked at me cross-eyed afterwards. You know, like, what was this whole, what just happened? You know? It's like a bunch of families, right? Packed out a building, man, for the Sunday before Christmas, you know what I mean? Last Christmas, you know, gathering of the year, man. And they got a movie review. And I know there was like gospel messages, you know what I mean, that were like kind of brought in there, but it was about as disjointed and discombobulated as you were going to get, man.
I bet that thing,
bro, I went
made
off
a lot
into
of
like
sense.
the law. I went off like the table breaking and Ozon. I mean, I took a whole like detour and like talking about the law of God in the Old Testament and commandments. It was almost more like Easter, like an Easter message on Christmas, at Christmas. And yeah, dude, it was definitely of any Sunday morning in my life. Yeah, after years of, you know, ministry that I could take back, this was it, man. I'm laughing because I'm trying to have fun with it, but bro, if you were there, you'd have cringed.
Yeah. Man, that's great. And knowing you've definitely honed that kind of like on the fly, knowing what to say, kind of like in the moment thing. You're really good at that. And who knows, maybe that was like the beginning of you exercising that that little muscle there.
Little Tony coming in and counseling me right now.
But
little pat on the back, like, it's okay, Russie.
no, I mean,
You learned some good stuff. You had to go through it.
and
bro,
there's nothing worse, dude, than you're like, dude, I got this. Like in your head, it like all makes sense. You can kind of see it. And maybe like when you were taking a shower in the morning, like you had it all. But then you showed up and that dude was freaking wrapped in Christmas lights. And
Oh man.
I mean, there's a lot of things, to like throw you off, especially if you're going with the ghost, no notes. You got, Janice is hitting you up about running out of goldfish in the kindergarten room. The janitor's over here hitting you up about, somebody who threw up in the rear entrance, of the building. And you're trying to like keep all this stuff like together in your head. And all of a sudden you see, Christmas pajama boy on stage, and there's a lot of things working against you that morning, dude.
Yep. Yeah, man. And I remember the worst part of the whole thing was ending it. There was a dude in Houston that had started this ministry. Like, I think it was called like, I forget the actual name of it. I'll have to look it back up, man. But it was something in relation to like Christmas. It was like him and Rick McKinley out of Portland, the Mago Day, you know what I mean? A few other dudes. And it was this whole like just shaming the whole Christmas multi-billion-dollar spending money on presents industry. And like reversing all of that by not buying presents for anyone. It's giving of time, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. So I remember somehow I tied that whole thing in as like an illustration, dude, of what could be.
Yeah.
If we grabbed on to the mystery and the magic of Christmas as explained in the scriptures and illustrated in this beautiful story of Narnia. And just like looking back at that, I'm like, people got confused. They got shamed. They got, oh man.
It's like the show Nailed It. You have like this Pinterest thing that you're trying to like this cake that's like amazing. Yeah. And then like the one you make,
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what that sounds like.
Yeah, but I had some elders reach out, man. Like, bro, are you okay?
Are you okay?
Because I'm just saying, like, you had this track record of one thing, and then all of a sudden, right, on a Sunday, right, at Christmas, you just sort of go off like you're a rocker, man, for a Sunday morning. By the grace of God, the church continued to move forward and grow. But yeah, man, we're just going to chalk that up to the Holy Ghost scratching people's memories. And yeah, moving forward.
So closing out here, I think it's good to hop on here and, make fun and all that kind of stuff. I kind of made fun of like the world I was in, what I thought was super impressive. Russ, you had a little bit of a embarrassing story. Jamie, you brought a little bit of like a little bit more message, centered. Man, I wish I could take this back. Man, let's just take like just 2 minutes, man, and just share some good news. Like leave some people with some stuff to just encourage their heart. I think all of us used to lay in front of people, a lot of conditional theology. A lot of things that were based on performance, and even made faith. We were orthodox in that we said it, we were saved by faith, but we made faith a thing that was like the last piece of the puzzle, that really unlocked everything. Jesus came and did it all, but here's this last piece that we need for it to be really true for you. Almost like faith is make something happen instead of the discovery of what is.
Yeah.
And if you've been rocking with the Lark cast for a while, that, we're saying, no, like the gospel just is. It is. It's a reality apart from your opinion and mine. God did something definitively in history apart from your existence and mine, if I existed or if you existed or not.
Yeah.
Right. So faith is not something that makes something happen or makes something not a reality. It is the discovery of something that is. And that something is Jesus.
Mhm.
Amen.
Yeah, it's good news. Very good news. For me, the thing that's probably stood out the most this season is, naturally we talk a lot about incarnation. God becoming flesh and dwelling among us. It's a pretty big deal. It's the heart of the Christmas story. And I think for years I always saw that through the lens of this is something that he just needed to do to come and accomplish something for us that we couldn't accomplish on our own. And so it almost can start to betray this, like, yeah, I guess I need to go do this now, right? Or a little bit like begrudgingly, maybe, or nope, it's been thousands of years and they still haven't figured it out. So let's just go ahead and, let's do this. But the more you study the scriptures, the more you see, like, no, this seems to be the story from the beginning. And when you start to see in the incarnation, just this reality of God wanting to be with us, right? An incarnation that's revealing that you guys think your humanity is this problem to overcome, and it's created this separation. And I need to come and somehow like overcome this thing for you. But I'm actually becoming flesh and showing you that you're living in this frail dependence. Yeah, that's just called human. It's not something to overcome. It's something to actually recline in because you were made to live in the dance of this Trinity. It's a beautiful thing that you're for some reason fearful of. And when you start to see like him becoming that thing that we're so fearful of and showing us like, no, this isn't a bad thing, guys. It's there's more to the story that I could get into, but I think just seeing it through that lens this year has been pretty encouraging to me. And I think it really starts to paint a different understanding of the heart of God in his coming.
Yeah. And what I want to say flows right out of that. And it's probably one of the biggest takeaways for me this year and the study I've done and thinking and talking and writing and exploring, right? And I put it on the blog. It says, the one who has been face to face with the Father for all eternity joined us to be face to face with the God of our imaginations. Like that realization sets the gospel in such a different light for me and for people I talk to, because like you're saying, Russ, we often teach and preach this thing like it's just another starting point with a really good push to get you some momentum in your spiritual life or life in general or your relationships or whatever. And it's like, no, Jesus showed up in a human body so that he could face down the gods that we're bowing to, the false gods that we've chosen to follow, the stand-ins for God the Almighty, like creator of heaven and earth, the ones that we let take his place, because those gods offer us a pretty clear list of like, okay, so here's how you know if you're in or you're out. We can't handle a God who says there's no such thing as out. There's no such thing as outside of me. Like, not only did I will everything into existence, but I will that everything remain in existence for my joy. And so Jesus is, and the last thing I'll connect this to for me, like that made me think about the first commandment, like you shall have no other gods before me. And what I've been thinking about is, well, maybe and I've said this for a long time because I got really irritated, but it was one of those incomplete things, right? Where I was like, I think I'm on the right track, but I'm not explaining it in a way that necessarily makes that much sense to me or to everybody else. But the first commandment, you shall have no other gods before me. That's not about priorities. And we always teach it like priorities, like God first, family second, work third, maybe neighbors and do-gooding stuff after that or whatever.
We got to get that spouse and kids in order first, man.
True. No, you're right.
Spouse second.
I'm sorry.
Then those kids.
And then it's roll tide.
Yep. Those are the 3 stones, right? David, 3 of the stones that David was carrying. And then 4th and 5th are tithe and tithe.
Right. Right. And then Jesus rolled
you got to
the
get that
away.
System. Yep.
And then we got to roll
that order.
We got to roll these stones away in our lives.
Yeah, man. No, I think you're right, though.
I mean, if Jesus can walk out of a tomb after being dead, you certainly can, put the porn down.
Yeah.
He did it for you. You can do it for him. So,
amen.
That's just been bad news for my whole life. I've never been able to get those priorities to sit in the right order for long enough to matter. And so I've always just bucked it. I'm like, I don't think that's what that is saying. I think it means God's the only thing there is. So stop pretending like there's anything else in front of you that you can do for significance or to stay alive and stay in creation and stay in sustenance, right? Like I think the message of Jesus coming to disillusion us from these deadly false gods that we lose our lives to, he goes to lengths to prove. He's like, I'm not absent and I'm not avoiding you, never have and never will. And the sooner you come to discover that that's true in your perceptions, priorities, like to get your right, it's your perceptions that are wrong and off, then you'll actually be able to take a deep breath and enjoy what you do have.
Yeah, I love the get it in order is a lot different than stop pretending. And I think that is definitely what he's declaring and inviting us into, which ties even on what Tony was saying. God has done something. So faith is not a bargaining chip that we have with God. It's not something that we have to figure out how to best exercise so that he'll do this or do that, right? And for the early Christians, to have faith was simply to believe, to trust in what God has, past tense, done.
Yeah. And
then to live in view of that. And so, just thinking about that in the Christmas message, like God becoming like us, he refuses to be God without us. I think that's what we lose sight of. Think about that. He's refused to be God without us. And so he becomes like us to prove that he'll never forsake us, man. It's that bond is unbreakable. There's a union that he has made with humanity by becoming flesh with humanity. It's like, whoa. And so then from that picture, you learn like what God's like. You learn what it means to be human. Jesus isn't a picture of a better Christian. He's a picture of what it means to truly actually be human. To be utterly dependent, not self-sufficient, to be alive. And man, I had never really seen it through that lens. I don't feel like I have been chipping away at it, but what a reason this Christmas season seems to be like, oh man, it's so much bigger and richer than that even the Narnia take I tried to do. I just think that's encouraging for all of us, man. No matter who you are, what you've done, where you've been, God has chosen to become flesh and dwell in and among and through us.
Yeah.
By way of his son.
Yep.
Period.
God becoming flesh proves that he's the God of what is. Staying in heaven and begging us, constantly pulling us up would mean he's the God of what should be. Constantly climb your way up this way. but he's come down and joined us in the story of our lives, the story of humanity. He got himself involved in our mess, like inextricably, like without separation. He is the God of what is, and he is our God, and he is for us, and he loves us. And speaking of that, I just want to wish you guys Merry Christmas.
Yeah, dude.
Man,
Appreciate you
Merry
guys.
Christmas.
Appreciate you guys. The ministry of Lark, everything that we've done this year, and it's been a good year. It's been challenging in some ways, but man, it's been worth it. So cheers to you guys. I love you guys, and I love our mission. I love our message. I love our stories, where God's brought us, and I think today was like a really good example of that.
Man,
Let's not be too haughty, because every future version of yourself always looks back at a past version.
oh yeah,
It looks down a little bit. There's a little bit of that chronological snobbery, that comes with that.
hopefully we're 65 and we can hop on here and laugh about this podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Just be like, what? But man, in the meantime, it is good to at least find the ability to rest, to recline in something that's already true.
Yep.
And true, independent of us. I think that's the wow factor.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you, man. Grateful for you guys and for the year and all that we've seen happen. Grateful for you, our supporters and listeners, and
The Larks.
yep, the Larks, man. Eager for next year. Eager to get this good news out to a lot more people. Ain't gonna lie, that's the one thing that keeps me up at night. That's what I want to see happen.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. Yep. So until next time, Merry Chrysler.
Merry Krampus.
Merry
Cheers.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.